Hello, I hope I find everybody well and happy today. Recently, and in the last while back, I've been asked by many people to give my opinion as to what can be done to alleviate the difficulties in Ireland, etc. And it may appear impossible to do anything about it, but you must make an attempt to protect yourself, if at all possible. Now, there is a lot of dangers facing people in Ireland at the moment. People are fixated on immigration and economic issues and whatnot. But the most dangerous peril they face is actually what's known as artificial intelligence. We are going into an age where a vast majority of jobs and positions will be totally eliminated through artificial intelligence. It's a complicated issue, and I don't have time to do it in a small little video. But the ultimate goal is to bring in a society known as a feudal technocracy. Technocracy is a term that was popular back in the 1930s. It referred to the situation where a society would be governed by engineers and whatnot who would design the system to be run very smoothly, and everything was going to be like clockwork, somewhat like uh, German technology or Swiss technology or whatever. Now, that did not work in the 1930s for the simple reason is because the technology to really use this system was not in place. That is no longer the case almost 100 years later in the year 2025. We have now got supercomputers, etc., and we've got machines and robots doing uh, jobs and activities that you couldn't even dream about not too long ago. So we are now at the stage where with the technology exists to actually bring in this new system, and that is exactly what is going to be brought in. Even lawmakers, even lawyers, people in information, all sorts of careers will be no longer needed at all. Even today, you can use on your phone, you can ask your phone any question whatsoever, and the answer is right there. There's holograms, there's all sorts of stuff. Um, Manufacturing is going that way, it's all automated, and it's going to be a brave new world, which is good for some, but for the vast majority of people, it's not going to be good at all. Which brings me to the next point. Is your future secure? Well, it most certainly is not. There's a great number of people in Ireland and elsewhere that are relying on the government for their subsistence, whether it's welfare or whether it's a civil service job or whether it's the army, whether it's the Gardaí, a myriad of professions. They're all relying on the government. Should that government be unable to sustain the expenses of their existence, they will be radically replaced. We are seeing that now in the United States where there's huge layoffs and everything from the IRS to the State Department, practically everything's been laid off and cut down. The only service that's actually not being cut down, funnily enough, is the ICE, which is Immigration Customs people, and they are adding tens of thousands. Now, at the moment, they may be dealing with immigration, but in actual fact, they are a national police force. The United States was based for almost 200 years on the idea that police forces will be on a local level. Believe it or not, here every town, city, etc., has its own police department. There was very, very few people involved in federal policing whatsoever. The FBI was very dedicated, very talented, and but small in numbers, and the CIA was secretive and whatnot. That all changed. 9/11 brought in a complete new Department of Homeland Security. Those are different type of police force as well. You see them now more and more. But the important thing is they're national police forces, and they're not answerable to a local police chief, who of course is answerable to the people of his town. Whatever. It's a whole new ball game. Anyway, there's a lot of people going to lose their jobs. Now, there's also a great number of people in Ireland relying on pensions from their jobs. These people must accept the reality that that pension is not secure whatsoever. If their pension funds loses their money on the stock exchange, or if that company goes out of business, or any number of things can happen, and they are without a pension. They seem to believe that this will never happen. They believe it's impossible. Even the people on state pensions and old folks pensions or whatever, €225 a week or whatever, that too could disappear overnight. So there is a huge problem out there that people are not secure from that aspect whatsoever. Now we come to immigration, etc. You can see the level of violence in Ireland is just every single week. It seems to be rising exponentially. I saw a video today of some people down in Mullingar. Some people refer to them as the usual suspects. Anyway, two of them approached the house and fired a firearm at the house or whatever. Not very adept, but that doesn't make any difference if you're hit by a bullet. And they ran away and they were followed by numerous people coming out of the house, which of course does not seem to be the brightest thing in the world to do either, but we're not talking about the brightest people on the planet, are we? And they chased these people down and they were arrested or whatever. Who knows what will happen to them? Maybe nothing will happen to them, because in Ireland anything is possible. Bad and all as that was, we had a vicious incident yesterday. Many will have seen it on the web as well. There was some individual in Dublin, a young man, whatever. He was stabbed in the leg, they cut his arteries, etc. He was within seconds of dying, that fellow, because he didn't get the proper treatment initially. Should have been laid down and a tourniquet will be applied, etc. But that wasn't done immediately. Fortunately, some other person came along and took off his belt and, in effect, saved his life. Now, as bad and all as this was, there was actually a worse situation associated with that as well. On the video yesterday, we were told that he punched or hit or struck out at some lady trying to help him. I have now learned that on the testimony of a fellow that actually spoke to him, thankfully he is out of a coma and he's able to speak or whatever. But on his testimony, it appears that the woman that was involved in the situation was actually not associated with him at all. It was actually somebody that tried to pick his pockets and rob him while he was in total distress. If we are to believe the report on the Telegram channels, the fellow has lost his phone, he has lost his wallet. He was lucky he didn't lose his life. But the point is, when this fellow was down and in distress, a scavenger pounced on him like a vulture straight away just to rob him before he died him. That situation is unimaginable in Ireland quite a few years ago. It's not very long ago, etc., etc. But it's an indication now of how the way Ireland is going, and you are in severe danger. Most people with any grain of sense whatsoever will not go into Dublin, or indeed not go out at night. I've been told by a fellow from Tralee that it's suicidal to walk around Tralee after dark, even before dark or whatever. Anyway, that is the way society is going. So you must try to protect yourself if at all possible. Now, people are talking about forming political parties. It's very late in the day to do that, and as we can see, it's practically impossible to get it done because there's a lot of very less than capable potential leaders out there who seem to put their own little career ahead of the common cause. And they are fighting over nothing because there's going to be nothing to fight about by the time they claw their way to the top of the hill. It's futile. Now, somebody of intellect may step forward. I'm waiting for that to happen. It has not happened yet. The closest to that, of course, is John Waters. He ran in Ulster, Connacht Ulster, got a half decent vote, but unfortunately he wasn't in the running to get elected, but he did get a half decent vote. There was another fellow that ran with him there, Jerry Waters. He's a doctor, I guess. Both of them together might have had a decent vote, but the bottom line is they don't seem to be on the stage in a political situation anymore. Now, one possible solution to this problem is people would actually secede from the system as best they can. Nowadays, you don't need to physically secede like the Pilgrims did going to the Americas back in the 1620 time period. You can actually electronically secede, if at all possible. To do that, you would form a clan. Now, why would you form a clan? Basic survival. There's a lot of advantages in forming a clan. It will assist you emotionally, financially, and physically as well, depending on how it is set up. It is human nature to form clans. It is believed that the ideal size of a clan is 160 individuals because that is the number that they have found that people will get to know one another very, very well in that size of a grouping. But a clan could be any size whatsoever. There could be 100,000 people in a clan, and then you might call it a large tribe or whatever. The Irish are not very good at cooperation either, so that is something they would have to improve on. Now, when you form a clan, you actually can form your own currency, trading system, and means of mutual assistance. It is referred to as the LETS system, LETS, LETS. That stands for Locally Exchange Trading System. This idea was put forward by a fellow, I don't know his name, but it doesn't matter what his name was. He was actually from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It's the early 1980s, and he came up with this idea where he would have a group of people and each one would get a credit, and they would use those credits to exchange goods between one another, etc. You can get extra credits by actually offering, we'll say, employment or your own employment, your services to other people in the group, and they will exchange you credits, etc. That will lead to other people setting up different groups all over the place. They will then actually, some of them will issue their own locally backed currency that businesses in that general area would use and accept, no different than the dollar bill. The most famous one was in a city in upstate New York called Ithaca. It was based on a unit of currency known as the Ithaca hour, HOUR. It was an hour of services or work or whatever, and at the time it was valued at $10. So $10 an hour, whatever. If you had a service, say babysitting or whatever, you would do 3 hours and you'd have 3 hours that you could use to pay your mechanic to change a wheel or whatever. And that currency was able to be actually worked into into existence. Okay, and everybody in that time would have kept a log or a journal or whatever, and their credits back and forth. The more people in the group, the better this worked. Now, there was also some examples of this in Ireland, believe it or not. You can Google these things if you wish. There was a group down in Cork that was called Cork, CORK, LETS, Let's. I think it's still in existence, but it's not trading because it's not a done thing in Ireland. They just don't have the foresight to get into this in a big way. But it's no different from Facebook Marketplace or anything else. You just use a different currency. It's as simple as that. There was another one up in Donegal, and it failed too. I forget who was involved in that, but that was about 20 years ago. Back in the 17 or 80s, there was an area of Dublin called Shankill, I think it was. They had a Shankill trading system as well. These are not a new idea. They've been around for quite a while. That is what people should do. Now, there's other things involved. Most of these trading systems, if you were paid, you'd have to report that as income, etc. And that's all well and good as well. And it was just introducing new currency into the system, and people could do the best they can. Now, there was many different currency. You could have your own currency, you could have it backed by something, or you could have it backed by nothing at all. For example, I would suggest it to be backed by silver. I would suggest that people will say have 10 ounces of silver or whatever, and they would use that as their currency. And it's not too complicated. For economic reasons, you might want to do Take, for example, this coin here. This is an American Eagle silver coin, 1 ounce. You can buy them indirectly from the US government. They mint them, millions and millions and millions of them. They're about $5 more than the spot price of silver. So today that would be probably $43 or $44 each. That is a big coin. Remember now, in the 1890s, when you watch a Western with Clint Eastwood, he will walk into the saloon and he will toss this coin, or a similar one anyway, onto the countertop. And that was a $1 bill, a $1 coin at the time. Simple as that. Also, a $1 coin was the average one day's work wages in the 1880s into the 1890s when prices were okay. If you wanted a smaller coin, you would use this one here. This here is what's known as a silver dime. You actually come across these every now and then in regular change, not too often though. It's called a mercury head dime. Okay, it's called a mercury head dime for a very simple reason. That's the god Mercury that's on it. It's not complicated at all. That would be a form of a currency. You could actually mint your own currency as well, but that is a bit more expensive. For example, I had an idea a few years back to mint my own currency, and I designed it and minted it myself. It can be done. It's not particularly cheap, but it can be done. Anyway, this, let's see if I can get it up there. It's a shiny thing now that shines all over the place. That is a silver 1 ounce coin. It is the image of Oisín agus Níomh ag dul tasna an áirige go dtí Tír na nÓg. So it's Oisín and Níomh going across the ocean to Tír na nÓg. The other side of it has a nice Celtic cross to it there. It's not easy to see. But anyway, it's got the Ohm writing down the stem, and it's got a shamrock and the Trinity at the top, etc. etc. Point I'm making is you could actually decide to have something physical backing your currency. And it didn't even need to be silver. It could be land, for example. If you had 100 people and you might get the 100 people together and buy 50 acres of land. They, by definition, then would all have half an acre of land to use to back their currency. They could issue notes, or they could have it on their phone or whatever. Thanks to the internet, there is a app. I haven't checked it out because I'm not into computers that much. But there is an app on your phone. It's called CES. It's currency exchange system or something like that. And that really is almost like a large ledger book that you could keep your liabilities and assets and keep tabs of everything. Now that is exactly what I would suggest people would do. They've got to foresee what's coming, and what's coming is very, very bleak. And it's like I have met many fellow that follows the financial markets, etc. And in the course of my work or whatever, these fellows would be serious people. And I would ask them the very simple question, if you're on a sinking ship, what would you do? Well, every single one of them have the answer to that, because it's not a very difficult question. If you're on a sinking ship, you get off the ship. How simple could that be? Now, that is just a few thoughts on that issue, and I'm 20 minutes into it, so I will leave it at that. But if anybody wishes to progress with this, I would gladly assist in them setting it up. I might set it up myself, actually. I would have the wherewithal to do it, should I decide to do it. If I were in Ireland, I would be looking at this situation seriously, and there's big times ahead. All right, thank you for watching, guys.